Houston Cougars Coogs House. The Houston Cougars are heading back to the Final Four, 67, 68, 82, 83, 84, 2021, and 2025. The Cougs are on the verge of the big dance. I don't even.
You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked.
I don't know what just happened there. I don't.
You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Coogs, Final Four bound Locked On Coogs. I'm your host, Locked On Coogs, Parker Ainsworth. I'm just too excited. There's all kinds of technical difficulties at the start. We'll fix that in post if we have to. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about that fun and all of that later. But oh my goodness, Houston to the Final Four one more time. Houston keeps on dancing after beating Tennessee 69-50. And I got to be honest, folks, it was never close. Houston demolishes the number 2 seed Tennessee Volunteers. They beat them up inside, beat them up outside, beat them with speed, beat them with pace. They beat them up and down the floor. This game cut to 10, and I was texting a buddy. He's a Florida guy. He's actually a Kentucky guy and a Florida guy. It's a complicated thing. And I was like, listen, man, I'm still nervous. Never know what can happen in March. It got down to about 10. He texted me to give me a hard time. But I think that's just me being me. This thing felt like it was never going to be close. I got to say, like, there's a moment in the first half when Juwan Roberts goes down with foul trouble and stuff like that where I might have been convinced otherwise. But, wow, what a freaking win to get the Houston Cougars to another Final Four. I got this shirt behind me, right, hanging up here from the Final Four in 2021. Got to get new shirts, got to update, got to get new caps, the whole ball game. Oh, my God, the Houston Cougars had the Final Four in a big kind of way. All right, so I got comments here. Yeah, woo. Go Cougs. Let's go. Final Four, baby. Final Four, baby. We're back, baby. SA, here we come. And San Antonio. All kinds of fun, chaotic goodness here. Keep it coming. If you got something that's more than chaotic goodness, feel free to throw that in too. But I'm all for the chaotic good today. Man, oh man. I'm pulling up some things here as we're talking through this, but Houston heading to the Final Four in a way that just feels so great. You can't, like, honestly, how awesome does it feel? Especially when I had comments like this. I thought Tennessee played a good game, but that Houston was better. And that video got comments like this one. So basically, every player on Houston is better than every player on Tennessee. Come on, bro. LOL. Yes, Houston winning by 19 points wire to wire felt that way. I got comments like this. Houston is overrated from an inferior conference. Ha! 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 I got comments saying Vols by 8. Tennessee finished with 50 points. So I guess that did beat Houston's first half score. Man, what a freaking game from the Houston Cougars as Houston's heading to the Final Four. This rematch with Duke based on how last year ended, and Houston was on a roll and running away before Jahmal Mashack went down. Duke, I think, is better this year than last year, but Houston's a much more holistic team. Oh, they're playing a clip right now of Kelvin hugging. God, man. The heartstrings. Oh, man, what a freaking day to be a Houston Cougar. All kinds of fun stuff. Oh, man, I got amazing dancing. God, the Sampson family is just so wholesome. Oh, so freaking wholesome. The Cougs. Bert's comments here. The refs were in favor of Tennessee. Houston had the hardest path to win the Final Four was Gonzaga or Purdue than Tennessee. Didn't see us win, but we're here. We made it, baby. I will say there was an analytical model that rolled out that Houston had for a bunch of different analytical data, the most challenging path based on their opponents in a chalk matchup, and they played the chalk opponents across the way there. I do think that was heavily influenced because the analytics loved Gonzaga, and Gonzaga was a crazy 8-9 seed draw for Houston. But Purdue, that was even not factoring the fact that it was in Indianapolis. Purdue was obviously a very challenging Sweet 16 game. And I do think on paper, Tennessee was a challenging game, even if Houston had their way today. That's only the second double-digit loss for Tennessee this year. I believe it's only the third loss by more than 2 possessions for Tennessee on the season, unless I'm doing my math poorly there. Houston just obliterated this one out the gates. They got the whole shot. It was like 11-2 early, and they never looked back. There's a moment again when Juwan Roberts went down with personal fouls. I missed the whole first half after that point, where I was like, man, they're big. What are they going to do? But Houston continued to dominate the glass. It wasn't even close in that aspect. I was telling myself, Tennessee's going to make a run. Tennessee's going to make plays. Tennessee's a good basketball team. I have a lot of respect for Rick Barnes, honestly, as a coach. But you can't overcome Houston's field goal defense there. Keeping Tennessee to 15 of 52 shooting. Obviously, they had a bad day shooting, but those were covered jump shots. Houston had a clear plan out the gate. As I calm down, trying to get just emotional, actually, about the analysis of a basketball thing here. Houston had a clear thing out the gate. Like, hey, we're going to make you shoot contested threes or contested shots at the rim. That's it, right? Very analytical approach defensively to this game. And they made a few down the stretch at the end, but Tennessee was 5 of 29 from behind the arc. I think that speaks to pretty good defense out there. Maybe the guy meant Tennessee 8 points halfway through the first half. It still would have been down by 8. I don't know what to say. No, I look at this and like Houston's rebounding advantage, 42-35, and that closed as the game got further down the line. Houston was just trying to spin clock, but that was a domination that I did not see coming. I thought Houston was better, and both teams played a very similar style of basketball. I thought both teams would score in the low 60s. I did not have it being in any of my wildest. Clearly, I need to dream bigger. 69-50. The Houston Cougars run away with it. Got a few more comments here. The crazy thing to me is that we shot bad and still won by 19. Houston only scored 69 points, right? Like offensively, well, we're going to talk about the performances and all that kind of stuff in the second segment as well. But the performances, as Oceanside here points out, it's not like they shot the ball. Houston didn't just shoot the leather off the ball. 42% themselves, 36% from 3 is frankly low for Houston on all accounts. Houston only got 4 free throws. That goes back to that point about the refs that was made earlier. Just still finding ways to dominate this one. They did turn Tennessee over 9 times, and even with the pressure at the end, Houston only had 5 turnovers of their own. 9 turnovers for Tennessee turned into 10 points for Houston. That felt important. But it really, really felt like this was just, I guess Chaz Lanier finished 17 points and Tennessee did get across 50. I had people text me if they were going to break 40. I don't know, man. Houston and Liam Brooks chiming in SEC. How crazy would it be if Michigan State, we're doing this live right after, if you're in audio form after the fact, we're live on YouTube right after the game. And so we don't know what happens in Auburn and Michigan State. That comes up next on TV. Theoretically, Auburn's the favorite in that one. If Michigan State were to win that game, you only have one SEC team in the Final Four, all 4 power conferences represented. How crazy would that be for the narrative, right? How crazy would that be for that whole storyline? Because Houston just took it to Tennessee like they hadn't happened to them all season, right? Only other team to do that, in fact, is Florida. And frankly, there's chances to see Houston and Florida in just over a week. We'll get to all that. We'll keep talking about this game. We do need to talk to you a little bit about our buddies, though, because buddies are who allow us to bring this each and every day. And our buddies over at Nissan are here to tell you that we're all about stats. We'll read off a couple important stats in the second segment because numbers don't lie. When it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. Ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you need to go. Powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, doubling strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. With room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big crews, big adventures, even bigger memories, whether you're off exploring, off-road trails, rolling up to an arena like the one in San Antonio. The Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights at the Nissan Armada Pro with the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at NissanUSA.com. And today's show is also, as I said at the top, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're not picking the Cougs, you're not picking right, because March Madness is here, and FanDuel's giving you a chance to get on the action like never before. Right now, new customers get $200 back in bonus bets if that first $5 bet hits. So $200 back using everything from buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, cutting down the nets, whatever you think Houston's going to do. You go to FanDuel to pick it. I like how easy to use the app is. Got to be honest, I'm real about ease when it comes to my apps. And that's the way it is. Well, ease and cheese, but those are two different kinds of apps. Anyway, go check out FanDuel.com. It's FanDuel.com. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Parker Ainsworth hosts a Locked On Coogs. You're talking about Houston's big win over Tennessee. And I did kind of promise, as we teased into the second segment, that I want to talk some about the box score kind of stats in this one. Emanuel Sharp takes home most outstanding player from the regional. I think his performance, obviously, in this game had a lot to do with that. Finished with 16 points. I believe he had all 4 of his three-pointers in the second half. There was one point where he had 11 of 15 of a fairly crucial stretch where the teams were going back and forth there, and it was kind of holding Tennessee at that figurative arm's length that we talk about Houston doing a lot. Sharp hit back-breaking 3 after back-breaking 3 in that stretch. I love that for him as far as getting that. So, again, recap on Houston's team. You've got first team All-Big 12, L.J. Cryer, Juwan Roberts. Second team All-Big 12, Milos Uzan. Third team and Conference Defensive Player of the Year in Jojo Tugler. Honorable mention goes to Emanuel Sharp, who then goes on to get most outstanding player in the Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament regional. Pretty hard to talk about which player is the most important. I got people text me all the time asking about, like, well, who's the pro, who's the whatever. And I don't know that any of that matters when the dynamic of this team is so spread out. I mean, Terrance Arceneaux had 8 straight points in this game to, like, get that run going as he came in off the bench for Juwan Roberts. Javier Francis, I got a guy chiming in down here, Oceanside chiming in down here, that you got Javier was the player of the game because the way he came in, it was Houston didn't skip a beat. He replaced Juwan Roberts excellently on both ends, frankly. Big dunks, big blocks. Man, oh man, what a freaking day for those Houston Cougars heading to the Final Four. I got a lot of people talking about what will be interesting to see about Duke. We got a long week to talk about Duke. I'm sure we'll talk to JJ Jackson over at Locked On Blue Devils later. He's really got a good show going. So if you want to check out some stuff on Duke, you haven't been watching Duke all year, go check him out for your research because he's really good. But man, Houston just obliterate. I mean, L.J. Cryer early, Emanuel Sharp late. Can we talk for a second? And this is not statistical or quantitative, but the emotional lift when you saw Mylik Wilson step on the floor. We knew he was a game-time decision. He took the tremendous, huge fall in the Purdue game, left the game, light was bottom, so worried about it, ended up getting approved to warm up and see how warm-ups went, and they suited up and played. And he played really well. His stat sheet numbers, which are never his thing, were not great. He had 1 3 that was very timely. A block, a steal, a couple of assists, a handful of rebounds. But Mylik's defense, his rotations, he is such an X factor for this team. And I get that he's not your classic NBA-bound guy. I don't know if he's going to play in Europe. He's going to go do something in the business world. I don't know what he's going to do next, right? But he is such an impactful guy in the here and now for this program that, the emotional lift of seeing him get back on the floor today to go play was fan-freaking-tastic. Sammy points out this was a defensive clinic. Mylik played a big part of that. Javier played a big part of that, had a couple blocks off the bench. I feel like Jojo had 2 blocks, but they don't have him with any in the stat sheet here. I guess, truthfully, both blocks I'm thinking of were after fouls had happened. So because the field goal didn't happen, I guess technically the block but doesn't either. Volleyball spike type of blocks too. Big time play out of him. Across the board here, the Emanuel Sharp points at the end, the L.J. Cryer points early, Milo's pretty consistent throughout, had just 6 points, right? Again, they changed who's in charge of the Houston Cougar offense each game. It feels like he had 22 in the gamer on Friday night, I guess into the early hours of Saturday morning, and then had just 6 points in this one. Just 3 assists, had a turnover. Not his best outing, and it didn't seem to matter for Houston across the board. I thought it was interesting, and I always think it's interesting when Cryer is like the one steering the offense in terms of creation. He had 4 assists in this game. He got in the lane, found guys, took his time to find his shots. And again, 2 of 8 from 3 is not his best outing. We've seen him, frankly, go 5 of 8 from 3 before. Like, he can get hot. But he found ways to have impact on the outcome of this game early and often. And he had a big 3 at the end as well to kind of, again, to keep that figurative hand on the forehead distance away from Tennessee. But wow. Start to finish, belt to butt. I said belt to butt. Don't get me in trouble there. What a whooping from Houston on the Tennessee Volunteers. I don't want to act like Tennessee has no talent or like there's some team that, everyone's running through. Jordan Gainey had his points. He got on the second half when it got down to 10. Chaz Lanier, fairly consistent score for them. I do think Zakai Zeigler looked a little bit out of sorts. He was outsized in this one. He's listed at 5'10". I bet he's closer to 5'8" than 5'10". We'll settle at 5'9". He's not a big guy, crazy good defender. Milos kind of did with him what he wanted to, and he turns Houston turns Zakai Zeigler over 4 times, which, I guess he had 5 assists, but that's not the greatest ratio or anything like that. Really a effective strategy for Houston in that, making him change directions a bunch of times. And then, again, the idea where Houston was just going to force them to shoot contested threes or contested shots at the rim. They shot 20 free throws, got to the rim a lot, got fouled, got to the free throw line, and they shot 29 threes. But they just couldn't put any in. They just 5 of 29 from behind the arc. And I think there'll be some haters that say, well, they just shot bad. And if you haven't ever watched Houston play, which I think we're finding more and more national people have not watched Houston play a whole lot, I feel like you could see that being a big deal for, they just missed shots or whatever. But Houston scouts really well. They understand where guys want to hit the threes from, and they keep things covered. Chaz Lanier went 2 of 12 because he was covered on threes. Zakai Zeigler went 1 of 6 because they covered his threes. They made you shoot contested ones. If they're going to make contested threes, that's a whole different ball game. You can't deal with that. But if you're going to contest it, you make it miss, you make it tough. And this is Houston continues to do. Oh, man. Houston, 69-50. I just can't stop saying it. I can't stop seeing it. I can't. Here's the thing. We knew this Houston team was special somewhere in December, January. There were I don't know that I had big questions. I have comments I'm not going to pull up right now from people that did have big questions about, is this Houston team special back in November when they were 4-3. Houston was 4-3 as the month of November ended. They are 34-4 as we speak here today. 4-3, 34-4. I don't teach math, but that's a 30-1 record since then, and that one game was by a point in overtime. Houston has not trailed since the end of regulation. Fun fact, since the first Saturday of the season. Pretty remarkable run so far for Houston, and it keeps going. Houston dominates Tennessee. It just keeps going. I got people talking about Duke in the comments. We may bring some of that up in a second. We may talk about Houston and more about today's game in a second. We're riding the wave here. We're reacting, folks. We had all kinds of fun stuff happening with the Houston Cougars as they move on to the Final Four in San Antonio. And I got a fun fact about that in 1 second. But first, today's show is also brought to you by our buddies over at 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings time might have snuck up on you. Might be those late night Cougs games, whatever the case may be. If you need more energy, 5 Hour Energy has got your back. The extra sunshine means more fun outside, more weekends of Houston Cougar basketball now as well. Sometimes you need a little extra boost to power you through, and 5 Hour Energy is here to help you with that. If you're staying up late watching tournament games or whatever the case may be, 5 Hour Energy gives you what you want, quick, refreshing. So it'll pick me up whenever you need it. Look, I got to be honest. I teach, I coach, I host this podcast. I need extra energy as much as anybody, and 5 Hour Energy is a great way to keep that going. Head over to 5hourenergy.com. Find over 15 different flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered right to your door. If you need one now, you can grab your 5-hour energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere, including on my desk. Stock out today and stay energized with 5-hour energy. Parker Ainsworth, the Locked On Coogs, of the Houston Cougars moving on to San Antonio for the Final Four, 69-50 victory over Tennessee in the Elite Eight. Here's my fun fact on this. Look, Houston's got a challenging opponent in Duke. Houston will have a challenging opponent if they get past that one, whoever the national championship game is. But man, oh man, Houston moves to Final Four in San Antonio, and it's the first time in Final Four history that a Texas-based team is playing in the Final Four in Texas. We obviously know that happened in New Orleans, which is very close. Happened there before a couple times. But it's the first time a Houston or a Texas-based team is playing in a Final Four in the state of Texas. And my challenge to Houston Cougar fans, people listening to this, people spreading the word, the gospel of the Houston Cougars everywhere, is let's make that obvious. Paint the town red. We know Duke and Florida both wear blue. We know Michigan State wears green. We know Auburn wears orange. Let's paint the town of San Antonio red. I'm telling you right now, like if we can make that an advantage for the Houston Cougars. Now, Houston's undefeated on the road. Houston hasn't lost a neutral site game in a long, long time. I get that too, right? They're like won their last 17 games as far as away from Fertitta Center games have gone. I get how people's like, it doesn't matter. But, man, wouldn't it be nice to make it matter for the other guys? This is a big deal for Houston, and I think that's a big deal for the state of Texas. I think it also speaks to who the blue blood of the state is, right? You can talk about Austin. You can talk about College Station. I got a lot of respect from Castleton to Tech, the basketball team, that is. But the blue blood of this state is very clearly the University of Houston as they head to their 7th Final Four in school history. Right? That's a big deal. That's more than anyone else in the state. And it's the first team from the state to play the Final Four in the state of Texas. And the Final Four is through Texas often between San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas. I mean, that's a big, big deal. Now, I think we'll talk about Duke in specific matchups. I've been trying not to get ahead of myself on matchups. Yeah, Emanuel Sharp. I've been trying to stay focused on here and now. Duke's got Cooper Flagg. He's a big deal, right? Duke's got the Proctor kid. The Knuppel kid has a funny name and scores a lot of points. But on the whole, I do think that Houston's defense is as good an answer for that offense anyone could offer, right? And so we'll see how that goes. We'll get more nitty-gritty on that as I get throughout the week and go back and watch with more of like an eye for analysis than just a basketball fan. So we'll get to that this week, I promise, right? Final Four is going to have a lot of content this week, I imagine, but we'll tackle that as we go. I'm not going to even think about hear my toddler out there trying to get my attention because he wants to go celebrate as well, I guess. We can talk some about the Houston Cougar potential final and all that kind of stuff later. But that's, I think, all conversations for later. Now, as I got comments on here, Tennessee's top scorers, Chaz Lanier and Zakai Zeigler, were combined 5 of 27 from the field. Zeigler had 5 points and 5 assists. Incredible effort defensively. True that. Where does this version of Terrance Arceneaux come from? I'm telling you, he's in there. He's really, really in there, I promise. He's really, really in there. Houston Cougars are moving on to San Antonio. Houston Cougars are heading to the Final Four. Let's take a moment. Let's breathe. Let's celebrate. And let's be back here each and every morning this week to break down all things Houston Cougars. Locked On Coogs is a proud member of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team, your Final Four bound Houston Cougars each and every day. Go Cougs.